announcer voice.
Well, we're back. Yeah, I know it's been just me for a couple days because he's been working and he doesn't talk to me anymore because he now has a girlfriend and they're always going out together and he's
okay.
All right. So we haven't got a chance to talk in a while because he just doesn't like me, as I said before. The fan base, I turn them against you. They love me now, right? All right. So I don't even know where to start. How about let's just do it this way. Let's talk about EU. Yeah, EU. Let's talk about EU. So
what do you want to talk about?
So let's talk about this second week for EU. Because we haven't did day predictions for EU yet, so
we haven't done anything for EU. So let's just make an overall consensus on how good they've been.
Thoughts and opinions on week 2 because I did thoughts and opinions on week 1 too. So the thoughts and opinions on LEC week 2. So you saw week 1. So let's
on week 3, dude.
No, LEC's on week 2. NA's on week 3.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So okay, well I have to go from week 1 to see what you watched. What did you think about LEC week 1?
Well, I mean, in what specific game?
Like for teams and stuff like that. What stood out to you?
What stood out to me again? I think that G2 is obviously not getting any competitive
experience.
Like they're not. They're a step above everybody in the LEC right now. I think the second best team is probably Fnatic, and then third is Origin. I think that's pretty much around what everybody predicted it to be. But I think the gap is not something we predicted. I thought it would be a little bit more competitive. I knew G2 would be a better team than everybody else, but I didn't expect them to be a drastic step like. So overwhelmingly better than everybody else that it's not even close. Like, doesn't even feel like anybody's giving them a chance. I mean, giving them
a hard time.
Hard time at this point. I feel like it's just them. Everybody else getting beat down. And
what about the SK game? The SK gaming game they had just yesterday.
I mean, again, I think it was for the most part. I think that they had an early game mess up, but then they just took over the game again. They get that. They're down by they're down by a bit of gold, and then by 20 minutes, they kind of even it out. They're still slightly down, and they end it by 24 minutes. That's just what they're doing every time because they're the amount of you could see my underwear. Oh no.
Oh yeah.
So the difference between what they're missing, honestly, the goal difference is pretty much negligible at this point. I put it way too high this time.
He wants them to not see me anymore.
I just didn't want them to see my underwears.
God, you're pretty sexy.
Oh, so for the most part, I think that the goal differences are pretty negligible at this point. Even if they do end up losing the lead, I feel like they're really not ever behind, which is something you'd usually say about a Korean team, but it seems like it's applicable to them at this point.
Now it's applicable to literally any team.
I wouldn't say any team because it's just
there's 100 thieves that
they're pretty much the G2 of NA, but the exact opposite. They play slow, and then they even if they get a lead, they just lose.
So would you say 100 thieves is stealing viewer time?
What?
Oh, people love that joke. Okay. So what team that you had expectations for didn't surprise you in week 1, like Vitality?
Okay, so I didn't really have too much expectation. I just expected the Vitality to be a decent team, but they were terrible at the end of the split. I don't know why I expected that. Schalke I expected to be bad, but they've looked pretty solid, pretty decently solid. In this when they've after they replaced Memento with Trick, they looked a lot more cohesive as a team. What was it called?
You had Excel.
Excel, I thought was going to be an amazing. I was like, oh, they're getting 6th, maybe even 5th place, and they have not won a game yet.
To be fair, they might turn it around and go 10-0 like Cloud9 did last year.
I mean, it's possible.
No, it's not possible.
I think Excel again. First of all, the big thing with Excel is they started winning games when they replaced Cassing with Mystiques. And they haven't played Mystique this entire season, split. They haven't done it once, and they've only played Cassing.
Because Yarn and Cassing have previous...
I don't care about previous
synergy from H2K, remember?
I don't care about previous anything, man. You get the guy who's been winning you games, which is obviously Mystiques. They were winning more games with the previous ADC. What's his name? What was his... It was
Oh, you mean the previous mid laner?
No, previous ADC?
I forgot his... Oh, the guy they subbed him out for. I forgot. Oh, when they subbed out their bad player... I forgot his name. But yeah, they've won games putting in their academy roster.
Well, yeah, again, the thing about it is Mystiques was the driving force behind this team. He's good on aggressive supports. He's good on pretty much anything you put him on. Cassing is not a bad player, but again, he doesn't have the playmaking abilities that it seems like Mystiques does have. So I'd like to see Mystiques in the starting spot.
I think what really surprised people is that Larson and Inspire were actually pretty good.
Larson has been a good... I mean, Larson's not on this team, but... Larson's been a pretty solid piece to Rogue and a big reason as to why they've been succeeding because mid lane was their weakest role. I would say weakest part, but no, Hiku was obviously. But Mid lane was obviously a really big detriment to this team, and replacing that with what I would say is a pretty solid mid laner it's been an upgrade for them. They've looked pretty decent. And what's his name? The top laner for XL.
Oh, Expect.
No. Oh yeah, Expect. Expect again. I'm not too impressed with him. Like he looked pretty solid last split. I'd say that he was definitely towards the middle half to middle top of the league. But now he's looking like a bottom 3 top laner, which is a little disappointing, and I'm not sure how that happened.
It seems like you can't really judge stuff based off of end split performances because some teams just don't care at a certain point, and some teams just overperform.
No, he was doing this throughout the entire split, though. It's not like he just started randomly. I think he played well throughout the entirety of the split. But
what other team is there? Oh, SK. A lot of people are mad at us that we put SK really low.
I don't care what anybody says. I'm not gonna rate SK high because they replaced what is essentially
Warlib with Sakurai.
Well, I'm just saying. Sakurai's probably a better player, but Warlib was never a problem for this team. They didn't fix any of their problems. Their problem was inconsistencies in the bot lane.
Bot lane still sucks.
It's not sucks. They did pop off every once in a while, but they were inconsistent. And when they did, they either won really hard or lost really hard. They were the win condition for this team, and it didn't. You don't replace a moderately solid top laner with just a good carry top laner, and you don't get more progress in terms of winning. That just doesn't happen. You need to replace their shot calling was always the problem. They were early aggressive jump.
They had one star player that made all their early game proactive plays.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, all of their problems are still existent into the split, and a lot of the teams have improved. And I think that they might be able to improve towards the later half of the split with another star player on the team, but I'm going to have to see it because, again, it's not looked really impressive. They won a game. How many games? One, right?
They're 2-2, I'm pretty sure.
Are they 2-2?
I'm pretty sure 2-2.
Let me see, because I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure 2-2. Because they won their Schalke game. That was a bad game overall.
Yeah, they're 2-2. They did win that. Yeah. They won that and that.
So
I think that we're looking at a bunch of teams in the middle half of the thing. Like Origin is another team we probably want to touch on. Actually, did we?
They have a hard schedule. This happened last split. I do feel like toward like maybe week 4 or 5 after Rift Rivals, they're gonna come back to their form because this happened last split too.
I mean, they've played a lot of top teams, and they're still 2-2.
Yeah, and plus they looked really good against G2 in their loss.
I think that again, the teams that are gonna make the playoffs right now.
Oh yeah, Splice is completely. I don't know. They fell off a cliff too.
I think the teams that look like they're gonna make the playoffs right now are G2, Fnatic, Origin, Misfits.
Misfits? Oh, we haven't talked about Misfits yet.
We have not talked about Misfits.
I mean, they're still playing the exact same way. They just aren't losing at it.
No, let's be honest. Kirei has been a gigantic upgrade for this team.
Well, they played. He played one game.
It doesn't matter. He looked insanely good for this team. Like the one game he played, he was the best player in the entire game.
I don't know if they were trying out Max Lore with Kirei. Like they were just trying to swap one day because maybe of like scrims, but that was a good switch up. I like that. Because I felt like Kirei offered them something that Maxwell just wasn't offering them in a long time.
I'm going to say that I honestly think that Kirei is going to be one of the better junglers in the league just based off that specific game. But again, anything could happen. It could be just a pop-off game.
Yeah.
But for the most part, that specific game looked like a good indicator of what we could see Kirei do in this league.
If you're Vitality, I don't know how you bounce back.
I just don't think that like, again, they've one specific, like, last split they had Yuxei playing really well. They had Countershard playing really well, and even though their bot lane was always pretty bad, they knew how to. If they could get through the early game, they could make it to the late game.
Because the problem with last split was that people blame Mowgli for not ganking their lane and not giving them resources.
No, there's no situation where you should blame Mowgli. I mean, Mowgli's not been great for either split, but there's no situation where you should blame Mowgli for the poor play in the bot lane. Like, the bot lane, Attila and Jack Troll have been pretty bad this entire year so far. They've been one of the worst bot lanes in the league.
Hey, they beat RNG one time at Worlds, and they thought they were, like, the best team ever.
Well, I mean, they played Draven. I mean, first of all, losing lane against Cloud9's team is not impressive. Cloud9's bot lane is not a lane-dominant team. You should never lose lane to that. Especially with Draven at that. So
yeah, I remember they played RNG that one game last Worlds, and they got on like this weird high horse. I was like, calm down. RNG looked terrible at that point. Like I wasn't really taking that verbatim. Like they were some amazing team. It was like a lot of teams do that. You'll beat one team by luck because they had a bad week and you had a great week, and then it looks like the coin is on the other side. That's a good metaphor right there.
The coin is on the other side was your good metaphor that you wanted to brag about.
And now it's time to go to LOL Esports.
For what?
We're
the
going.
standings are really, literally right there.
Oh, they are.
You just.
Oh, talking about the matches for the next day. Where we go for that?
Matches?
The matches for the next day.
LEC in that time.
Oh, ooh, yeah, you're big guys. You're a.
Okay, so the next day.
All right, so we're gonna have what is this? This is week 2. Day
3.
This is week.
This is week. This is not tomorrow. This is literally next week.
Okay, so so
this is a week away.
Okay, so we're not like I said, so that's gonna be a little bit off. Okay, so we're looking at EU right now. G2 and Fnatic are at the top. That's pretty good. Now next week G2 and Fnatic face each other.
They actually, again, I think these are the two best.
I think Fnatic, G2 is still gonna beat them though.
Fnatic doesn't look on the same level. Again, Fnatic has struggled against Origin. They struggled against a few others.
They struggled with Misfits too.
They did. Misfits again, I think is gonna be that number 4 team right there. They're gonna be right below the top 3. I think they're gonna be the one team that almost gets into the Worlds but doesn't make it, because I do think they're towards that area. I do think that they're starting to come online, and I could see them making Worlds above Origin maybe. Maybe even above Fnatic. I don't know who's going to be the second.
If you had to just go off of consistency, Splice could take it over Origin.
I'm not calling Splice anything because they've looked pretty bad this split. I mean, again, I know their record doesn't show it yet, but I don't think they're one of the top teams. They could easily, again, their bot lane is the best, one of the best in the league.
Yeah.
So I could give them some credit for that.
If I had to just vote it off of being consistent, because a lot of the teams not Splice aren't consistent. If they can just keep their consistency up and their decent form, I feel like they could steal Origin's spot. I just don't feel like Origin's going to get their spot stolen. I just don't see it.
Most likely case, everybody predicted this to happen is going to be the top 3 teams, but anything could happen. I do think that if anybody's going to challenge for that 3rd spot, it's going to be Misfits. I think the only spot that's safe right now is G2's, obviously. I think they're probably guaranteed a spot into Worlds at this point.
There's a few players people want to go over, probably. There's Nuke Duck, who hasn't looked incredible yet.
I don't think he's looked... I think a mid laner that needs to get pointed out more than anything is Yuxei. Like, Yuxei went from one of the best mid laners in the West to...
I wouldn't say that. I feel like he had a good...
He was better...
Beginner's luck, is what I'll call it.
Beginner's... Why are we acting like he's a rookie?
No. Like some players do this. They'll have a really good split and then fall off the next split.
But he was really good at the beginning of this split too. Like, he literally only fell off towards the mid to late.
When he got sick, he just became bad.
I'm just saying. Like, I think it's unfair to take away from him. He did look good at one point.
Because he was touted as like what, the 3rd best mid laner besides Caps.
He was number 3 in my opinion. Yeah, I think it was Nuke Duck.
And then Caps, and then Jizuke.
I think it was a toss up between Nuke Duck and Caps for me. I know a lot of people don't want to say that, but I do think it was a back and forth for most of the split.
I said last split that Nemesis started looking better than him toward like a lot of the weeks too.
I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that. Nemesis never looked bad. I disagree with a lot of people saying he started off terrible, because he never did. His beginning of the half, I think it mostly struggled because
Youngbuck doesn't know how to pick anything.
I think most of it comes from, first of all, he's not a veteran. There we go. He's not a veteran on this team. He's not supposed to take the control of this team and make them...
More of a silent player anyway. Well, he kind of just does whatever you tell him.
So he's not supposed to be taking the lead for this team, considering he's a rookie. Second of all, he was doing fine in lane every single time pretty much. He just couldn't make an impact around the lanes because everybody was falling apart. And we're seeing a lot more of him succeed now that the team is not falling apart as much. So I'm going to say that Fnatic looks like they got the next best mid laner. I don't know if he's not going to be on the same level as... In my opinion,
if he's just as good as Nuke Duck, that's fine.
I would hope he gets to the... If he got to the level of Nuke Duck, I think they've succeeded. I think that's a good pickup.
Also, Fnatic probably want to regret getting that 6th jungler because Broxus looked like the best jungler beside Jankos. So
I mean, he looked great.
He looked great so far.
He looked great in this last game, yeah.
Yeah, I think... As I said before, in the video that I did, jungle was not the position they need to look at. It was literally top lane. Literally top needs a sub.
Whippo needs a sub at the very least, but I do think...
Why would Broxton need a sub? He's like not even close to their problem.
Right now, I don't think anybody needs a sub, but I would suggest if anybody's going to get at the very least a sub for going into Worlds, it's going to be Whippo, because he's the most inconsistent on this team.
And that's pretty much it for all the players. Trick
has looked actually pretty solid. Again, it's not standout mechanics or anything, but it's not anything he's done specifically, but the way that Schalke has been playing recently has been more decisive. They've looked like they've actually had a reasoning behind where they're going around the map. I think they could be a contention for a playoff team. I think they could make it.
Upsets look pretty good still.
Again, I think that he's always looked good, though. But
he can't upset anybody with his performance. I love jokes.
This last spot for the playoffs is gonna be this. It's gonna be between Rogue, Misfits, SK, and Shotgun.
It's a lot of more teams now.
Well, yeah,
spots.
there are only 2 teams that aren't at the very least in 3rd place.
I mean, Vitality and Excel starting. Vitality's playoff chances are hurting because they're 0-4. That's a lot of games to make up, and a lot of other games other people have to lose for you to get that spot. Because remember, if you start 0-4, that means you're banking on other teams losing, while yourself you also have to catch up and also have a positive winning record too. So
all around, I'm gonna say that
Europe looks pretty
is pretty much
decent.
What everybody expected from Europe before the split began.
My top 3 are exactly the same: G2, Fnatic, and Origin. Exactly in the order.
I swapped up Origin and Fnatic. But
I thought Fnatic had the better players. It's just like
really?
Origin had the more consistent players.
Who's better on Fnatic in comparison to Origin?
Like Nemesis can. Reckless is better than both players in the bot lane.
I disagree with that.
Hylissang is much better than Mithy.
That's, again, laning-wise maybe, but Mithy brings a lot more to the table than Hylissang does.
I feel like Brox does a better cold.
That's just false. That is literally
just
not
by a lot, just a little bit better.
He was literally like half of the player cold was last split. How do you even manage to say that?
Alphari and Bwipo are pretty much...
That's not... No.
Alphari's better.
Alphari's better. Again,
to a certain extent.
Cold looked better last split. I don't know how you could say
I feel like everybody on Fnatic can match Origin, and I feel like they have the more higher highs than Origin can have. Because Origin are the smart, consistent team.
I think that's just like a blanket statement at this. Like, Origin has literally... I do think they have the better players. I think that, like, maybe Reckless is better than Patrick, but it's not by a lot. And Patrick has literally looked better this split. This specific split, he's looked better so far. Mithy is not mechanically gifted, but he brings so much shot calling to the table. On top of the fact that he's a really good at engaging support, maybe not on most other things, but...
It's just like he's like a single reason why they lose games in general.
I mean, again, mechanics are something that can decide games in this meta, so I can see that, but I do think he is the better player in comparison to him versus Hylissang.
That's pretty much it. Anything else you want to say?
No. Goodbye.
All right. Good. Whoa, we're mean.
Goodbye. Am I supposed... Oh, am I good?
XD lol? I don't know.
Okay.